at the same time, they were kayaking in a very, very difficult time. I mean, this is late April in the Hudson River. The water is freezing. Entering tonight's game, Guilderland's playoff path was crystal clear. Win, and they're in. Training will take about an hour, and students and faculty will learn to use items like an Israeli bandage and a tourniquet. 5 buildings were damaged by this fire, and due to its conditions, all 5 will have to be demolished. Take a look at this. This is where all the snow is being moved to, just outside the city in Glenmont. First responders are climbing the Corning Tower not once, but twice. So that means 42 floors, 2 times. Firefighters say make sure it's at least 4 inches thick. Anything less, and you could fall through the ice. And as they were seeking shelter, that's when they saw this large branch snap off.
So what I do is I just end up pulling it out.
For Maya McNulty, a simple task like emptying the dishwasher and drying bowls and containers can be a challenge.
These are big wins, even though they look like little wins.
After a task like that, Maya checks her heart rate and her oxygen. She'll do this several times a day, pretty much after any activity, to make sure she is staying within her levels.
Usually at rest, it's about 90 to 100. And if I have some type of activity, it's like 125 to 135.
She has to do all this because Maya is a COVID long hauler. Just about a year ago, she contracted the coronavirus. At 48 years old, Maya had no underlying health conditions. But days later, she was hospitalized, spending 6 weeks on a ventilator and even a month in a coma.
It was really hard those couple of times, not knowing what your faith is going to be.
Maya survived, but her recovery was just starting. After being released from the hospital, she was transferred to Sunnyview Rehabilitation, where Maya learned to walk again while also focusing on pulmonary rehab.
So we went from 110 to 118.
Yep, which is fine.
With each step, Maya is making progress. When she first arrived here, Maya was using a walker. Today, she'll do a lot of her physical therapy without her cane, making headway in endurance, balance, and strength over the last several months.
I'm a little out of breath, but this is normal for a long hauler, to be out of breath with a few steps.
Jackie Gatta is one of the physical therapists working with Maya. She says Maya was her first COVID patient here, which has allowed her to not only help Maya, but also learn about what long haulers go through and how to best assist them.
She's up and moving around a lot more, which I think is just a testament to her overall endurance has improved greatly, which with the COVID population is a tough thing to increase.
While Maya is overcoming a lot of adversities, it's still tough for her to think about the independence she used to have or the times she could go hiking, swimming, or even driving. But what keeps her going is the finish line. She graduates from physical therapy March 29th.
Like, I don't take it for granted anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So
Maya shares her story, hoping it'll be an assistance to others. Last year, she created a Facebook group called COVID Wellness Clinic. It's a safe place members can share their experiences, ask questions, and not feel alone.
we'll have wellness workshops, but most of all, we're going to listen and support.
The group has more than 1,000 members, and Maya is already creating a 501c3 for it. She calls it her second life to help others through what she has endured. The last few months has given Maya time to pause and reflect on how grateful she is. She really enjoys the little things now, like arts and crafts, which she says is therapeutic.
It's a priceless memory, and I think that really helps you to survive in these unprecedented times.
In Niskuna, Jackson Wang, Spectrum News.
For me, it's all about the kids.
For Lee French, it feels good to get back into this routine. It's his second basketball game of the season, but first high school one. Quite a way to begin his 40th year of officiating basketball.
It's different, anytime you do cardio with, something over your face, it's a little difficult.
Tonight, he's working with Jeff Van Dyke. The pair have officiated games together for 20 years.
Early on, he taught me pretty much everything. Now we just have fun together.
First off, nice job, ladies, so that we can play basketball tonight. Here we go.
As the game tips off, French and Van Dyke get into their positions and begin calling the game just like they've done for decades. But not all officials are on board this season due to COVID-19. In fact, one local organization reports 45% of its officials have opted out.
We are an older population, and we're not going to be here forever. We don't get any slower. These young kids seem to run faster.
Skip Spenceri is the Capital District assigner for girls basketball officials. He says 2/3 of its varsity officials are 60 years or older, which highlights a larger issue, a lack of younger and newer officials signing up to officiate.
We're not getting the numbers which we need. I mean, we might get 1 or 2 a year, but if you lose 4, 5, or 6 a year, you're running in a deficit.
Spot.
And this isn't a new problem. The local Girls Basketball Association has seen its number of eligible officials in the last 5 years drop 25%. And Spenceri says it's the same with boys lacrosse, where officials there have declined 8% since last year statewide. One reason for it, spectators' behavior.
That's what we have seen from officials that decide not to officiate any longer, is the unfortunate abuse that officials receive from fans.
Dr. Robert Zayas is the executive director of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. He says everyone needs to understand when it comes to sports, it's a group effort.
Players play, coaches coach, fans, you spectate, and you cheer on your son or daughter, and we need those officials to be able to officiate.
Zayas says recruiting has ramped up at state tournaments and colleges, and the association is holding seminars to get recruitment up. But he hopes this nationwide trend won't affect student athletes.
Just come north, just come north, just come north of the foul line. Okay. Thank you.
Meanwhile, opening night is going well for French and Van Dyke. Niskuna jumps out to an early lead and goes on to win their first game of the season. For Van Dyke, it was nice to get back into the swing of things.
It was definitely a good run. It's great to be back out there again, make some calls. Kids played great.
For Van Dyke and French, there's no shortage of passion. They acknowledge dealing with fans can be tough at times, but the positives outweigh the negatives, like interacting with coaches and running alongside great student athletes.
As long as we all keep doing the right thing and, and the cases stay down where they need to be so that the state will allow the kids to play, we're going to be here to officiate.
For Spectrum News, I'm Jackson Wang. This isn't the kind of football Morgan Smith grew up playing. But there was just something different about the pigskin and those around it.
I can't even describe it. It was the best experience ever.
For most of her life, Smith played soccer for South Glens Falls. But one day, just out of curiosity, she gave kicking field goals a try. It turns out Smith was pretty good at it, and the Bulldogs happened to need a kicker. So she soon found herself playing 2 sports at once during the fall of her senior year.
It would be a game in Burnt Hills, and then I have to go drive all the way back to South Glens Falls for my football game. It was crazy, but I loved every minute of it.
After graduating from South High in 2018, Smith returned to being a one-sport athlete. She took her talents to Franklin Pierce University that fall and played soccer for the Ravens. But Smith missed football a lot.
The camaraderie, the family kind of feeling you get being on a football team, I really missed that aspect of it, and I just really liked playing football, being a kicker, and being able to be heavily relied on by my team.
So the following spring, she tried out for the Franklin Pierce football team, who were getting ready for their inaugural Division II season. And Smith made the team. While she says it was a little awkward being the only woman at first, that didn't last long.
They welcomed me pretty quickly, and it's probably the best experience I've ever had.
On September 7th, 2019, Smith became the first woman to play football in the Northeast 10 Conference. A week later, the first woman to register a point in any 10 history.
An opening there, but Morgan Smith, this one's going to be up.
Right through the
Morgan
upright,
Smith,
right down
her
the middle.
First points.
And just the second woman to score a point in Division II football.
I just wanted to play football. So when I went out on the field and I was getting ready to play, I just thought it was, an everyday kind of a thing.
She says it was pretty cool to learn she made history. In November, Smith was one of many tuning in to watch Vanderbilt kicker Sarah Fuller make history by becoming the first woman to play football in a Power 5 conference. But it hasn't all been easy. Just like Fuller, Smith has also dealt with negativity.
People are going to say nasty things. They're not going to want you to do well. Me being a female on a primarily male sports team, it's not the easiest thing for other teams to handle.
But Smith says her teammates have always had her back. She says the big scary guys make some of the best friends. Smith is now getting ready for her sophomore season, which was pushed back to the spring. She is up against 3 other kickers for the starting job. While Smith and Fuller have already made history, she says there's more to come.
Keep watching. There are plenty of women that are in football, especially at the high school level, and there's more joining at the college level. So hopefully we can see a woman in the NFL in the next upcoming years.
For Spectrum News, I'm Jackson Wang.